just can't be gold. Time to dig a little deeper. Hear the stories left untold. Red flags.
Hello, and a very good evening to you all. I hope you're all well. It's lovely to see you all here, and I hope you've all had a good Sunday. We've had some sort of crap occurrence over, I need to go that way, over the weekend, and I may be putting up a video about that. Yeah, it's not good. But it's fabulous to see you all in here. I have appointed a couple of mods, and as DJ says, we're all going to be on our best behaviour. That includes me, that includes Dunks when he gets here. Let's see if he gets here on time. What do you think, guys? Anyway, we've got a bit more to go over. I don't know whether I really want to carry on after this about the Slater case. What do you think, guys? Do we need to go any further looking at this particular interview, because so many people have looked at it, and I don't want to be boring. That's one thing I'm not, is boring. So let me know. As you'll see along the bottom here, I have stated how I want my live streams to be. I want people to be civil and respectful to other panelists and other members in the chat. We don't want a big fight. We don't want people coming in abusing not only us, but also abusing you in the chat. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen on my channel. So as DJ says, be on your best behaviour. I can see quite a few new faces in here, and I've yeah, and it's lovely to see you all. So yeah, is he going to be busy? Well, maybe not as busy as he could be, because I'm quite familiar with how YouTube works and how streaming works. I've done it quite a long time, and there is such a thing as a block button. Jan's good with the block button, trust me. So right, so let's see what you're saying. Yes, so somebody's inquiring as to how to reply to somebody. All you have to do is put the @ sign and then put their name, or just put their first name. I normally leave a little hyphen, and then I go on with my message. It depends whether you're on a phone or whether you're on the computer. So while we're waiting for Dunks, I want to read who's in. I've also got my phone here. If anyone would like to become a mod in this stream, then please let me know. I think I've spotted one that I also wanted as a mod. Right, okay, let's see how we go. So, right, okay, let me see if anyone's put anything on here that I need to go over. Yeah, Claire, welcome, lovely to see you. Um, please hit the like button. I get the feeling that Claire has modded before. Yay! Good for you. Can someone give Dunks a shout? Where is he? He did say he was going to be on time. So yeah, it's we've got a bit to go through. Our lives generally just go on for about an hour. Um, so maybe I'll start. He's in here. Okay, so Dunks has now got a new name. And yeah, Bulldog Dunks. I quite like that. Come on up, mister. Let me put this in the chat for you and then you can. Oh, no, hang on one sec. I've actually pasted. That was a bit silly. I've actually pasted. Hang on one sec. Let's do this from here. I put in paste instead of copy. Yay! Such a clever girly. Right, just bear with me one sec now while I try and do this on my phone, which is going to be fun. How do we do this on my phone? If anyone... No, okay. I don't think you'll be able to do it that way, will you? Let me see. How do I do this? This is good. Right. I need... Let me see. This isn't a good start, but it can only get better from here. For some stupid reason. Let me see. Let me see how I can do this now. This is annoying. Alright, let's see. Bear with me, guys. We'll sort this out. No panic. If I disappear, I shall be back very, very soon. Right. How do I share that? I need to share the clip. So, does anyone know if anyone's done... How do I share this now? Right. Oh, this is annoying, isn't it? Right, I've actually got my phone here. I'm trying to do it on the phone. How do I share this? The StreamYard link. Oh, it's all my fault. I can't blame anyone. Right, can we... What I'm going to do is refresh. If I disappear, I should be coming straight back, alright? Just bear with. I need to stay on the page. Right, okay, I think this is it, Dunks. Let's see if I can do this properly this time. Right, you are. Try that one, Dunks. Hopefully that will bring you back to me. And you can jump on. Have you ever done that, guys? You know, when you try to sort of copy and paste, and instead of clicking copy, you click paste? Anyone else done that? Or is that just me? Probably just me. Right, okay, that should be all right, Dunks. Get yourself up here, and we can get on with this. Here he is. Here he is. Hey, mister.
Okay, testing the audio.
Testing the
Can you
audio.
hear
Can
me?
you hear me?
Right, speak again so that I can mute myself.
All right, let's try this again. Can you hear me for the second time, Jan? Everybody?
Well, nobody said otherwise. So hopefully, yeah, good, good. We can go. How are you, Dunk? Are you okay?
Absolutely fine. Busy day, sorting out the backup channel to the backup channel of the new channel. But this is what it's going to be like, I think. I did a video earlier. You might not have seen it, Jan, but basically, I think the accident group in general are in panic mode here because, in my opinion, the inquest went very badly for them, even though they thought it went well. They got the verdict they wanted. I think the documentary went badly for them. There were more questions of officialdom and what happened in that courtroom than the accident group imagined. And I think the pushback after that Telegraph interview was devastating. And now, Sonia Poulton's come forward, said we'd like to hear your side of it. So I think the panic was we've got to get rid of some of these people. Now we've had the threats and intimidation rolling on for some time, but bizarrely, I don't really get this bit. Bizarrely, they seem to think that if one channel on one platform gets removed for a few hours, that is some kind of victory. And I tried to stress today, if anything, it shows how awful the other side are viewing all this. Do you know what I mean? When a victory is, oh, we got rid of one person for 3 hours, aren't we doing well? It's like, no, I think that shows you've really got no argument left. That's all you can do is try to give a red card to people. Um, and the whole crowd, the whole stadium's going, "What the hell's going on? This isn't working." So I kind of looked at it today as very positive. I was like, if this is going to be it, then we deal with it. The ship goes sailing on, but it is odd that that's their way of dealing with difficult questions, is to just try to get the person out of the room. Very strange. What was your take on all of this, Jan?
Yes, I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised, um, because I've come from, like, I've been in other communities where this happens, where they focus on one person and then they try and make them look as bad as they possibly can in the hope that they themselves are going to, disappear like in a puff of smoke. So, in one way, I wasn't surprised. I was very disappointed, though, that they are obviously targeting you and your channel. I see no reason for it. It's not as if you're even playing videos. And I also feel that maybe they see you as a weak link, in as much as you've often stated that you're not very sort of technically minded, and they think, oh well, Dunks isn't going to know what to do if this happens and if that happens. And that's why I've been trying to advise you as to how to contact YouTube. And I think after a period of time, YouTube will be aware of these people that are targeting you. And so they're not doing themselves any favors, because I tell you, I had a group of people coming after me from a different community, and they did the same thing, but they did it via trying to get me copyrighted. There was no reason for it whatsoever. But what actually happened was, because I started a liaison with YouTube, actually managed to speak to a human being rather than a robot, they actually lost their channel. So YouTube will look at things and think, okay, we can see what's going on here. So we get rid of the troublemaking channel. So all is not lost. Just make sure that you keep in touch with YouTube. I've given you a few email addresses. Get in touch with them and I'll continue to help you. It's just a matter of pounding home that you are being harassed and excuse me, and targeted. YouTube doesn't stand for that, so they do look out for that as well. So if you explain this is your third channel that's gone down, there's no reason for it to have gone down, just keep emailing them. That's what I would say. Push it and push it. And what I used to do is I used to copy them, all the different departments, into my correspondence, so that they were sick of the sight of me. And then they will look at your channel and think, oh, okay, all right, she's as nutty as a fruitcake, but she isn't breaking terms of service. So then they look at the person that is making the, the claims against you, and they just look at their channels. Do you see what I mean? So it
I
might
do,
take a
I
little
do, I
time.
do. On the other hand, Jan, I do take a certain pleasure. I think I am the first martyr of Jay's Law. Even though Jay's Law isn't a law yet, I think I'm the first online death. You know, I've been given the death penalty by the powers that be. The YouTube robot has made me the martyr of Jay's Law. So, you know, I think we should celebrate November 2nd from here on in as St. Duncan's Day. He died a death online, but was resurrected. You know, the phoenix rose from the ashes after 3 hours, he was back. So I quite like the victimhood here. I don't really want YouTube to help me out. I will. I've got all your email addresses, and I think you're right. Talking to a human will help. But just for today, can I still be the martyr, the one that died the death for the cause, and be remembered forevermore that way? Can I do that today?
We will give you that day, Dunk. Definitely give you that day. And the thing is, as good as these people may be technologically speaking, I'm quite good as well. And, you know, because I've been on YouTube for a fair time, I know all the tricks of the trade, if you like. So, yeah, don't be intimidated. I hope you get your other channel back. I think you should. Anyway, we'll talk about that more privately.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, don't worry, Dunks. I'm on your side, love. So I want to look over at the chat. While I look over at the chat, I want to thank all you mods for taking up your role. And from me to you, if anyone comes in and starts abusing other members of the chat, or indeed Duncan or myself, just boot them. Okay, that's, you have got my permission to do so. Okay, because there were people from last week's chat that were really upset at some of the things that were being said in there. So yeah, we're on the case. So let's get on with this, Dunk, shall we? I wasn't sure whether to start where we finished or to move further on to when she's actually slagging off the YouTubers. What do you think,
Mhm.
Dunks?
Very much your call. You're the host. There's a lot of meat and drink in, obviously, when she starts slagging off anyone. I would have thought Debbie would be a little bit meek and mild, but she's turned the other way. But no, that's fine, Jan. If you want to jump to that part, I'm sure we could talk for hours on what she says in that section.
Okay, let's move on then and see. I think Wax did a fabulous job
Yeah.
of going over it. He went heavily into it. And the thing is, that's what I think people may not realise, just how passionate we are about it. And, you know, I've seen people say, what is it, old Jan's, what's it called? Trauma, something or other, using other people's traumas. And I'm like, no, you know, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be so passionate about it. That's not my gig at all. So anyway, let's get on with this. So we'll jump over to here and see how we get on. Okay.
Part of the pathologist's examination of Jay's remains to be filmed, and not in a gruesome or visceral one at all, but just, and I watched that and I thought, did you do that because you wanted full transparency? At that point, you're being put under so much pressure with so many questions about what happened to your lad that you sort of felt, well, I'm just going to open the door to this process, because I thought that was a very brave thing to do.
It was a brave thing to do, but what once again Camilla is missing is that vital question of, did you get to see his body? Why did she not ask that question? All that Debbie has said is that she saw his belongings. She wanted to see his belongings. Why did Camilla not ask her about actually viewing and identifying the body? Over to you, Dunks.
Right. Two things on this one. I can't hide my disgust at the way Camilla uses the the words full transparency, full transparency. I mean, this is ironic. Had we had full transparency from day one, none of us would be here talking about this right now. It's because we haven't had that one thing, full transparency, that this is going on and on and on. So I had to smile at that. And you're right, Jan, 100%. One of the burning questions that has never been answered, let alone, explored, is at the moment the Duncan Slater family were there and there's the casket and Jay's there. Now we all assume this is a yes or no, simple yes or no question. Family, are you prepared to see Jay's remains? Yes or no? And for the first time I've ever heard of, that never happened. We never found out if it was an option or not. Now, I think we all understood that the authorities in the morgue said we advise against it because obviously he's in a state of decomposition, although we've also heard the body is mummified. Those are two opposites to me. In retrospect, it would have been fascinating to see, what the state of Jay was. Yeah, we all get that. You're advised not to, but we never found out if that option was an option or if they were simply told no. In Spain, our policy is that if we say no, the answer is no. And Camilla was right on, like you say, Camilla was right on the edge there. She could have said, difficult question for you, Debbie, but did you choose not to see Jay's remains or were you told you can't? And a yes or no question. We never got that. I don't know. Were you like me, Jan? Were you thinking that we were going to get an answer, and were you thinking Debbie's now going to say, "I actually did see him"? Because I that was my feeling. I thought she's going to say, "Yes, I saw him."
Yes, I'm the same. I was waiting for that because I knew that was something that hadn't happened. We all know, those of us that have been deeply following this case, we know that she didn't identify the body. And that was one thing that we've sort of. If Debbie had said in this interview, yes, I did get the chance to see him, it was dreadful, all the rest of it, then that would be at least one question answered for us. But she didn't. And this woman interviewing her didn't ask her. She didn't ask her. And that, again, is one of the reasons why we're even more frustrated. So let's listen to a bit more.
And I wondered whether that was the motivation.
It was really top and bottom, yeah. There were just that many conspiracies about it's not Jay and obviously his injuries. He got, the video, going back to the video, he was stabbed on a beach and there were one about him being shot. And I just thought, you know what, as awful as it is for us, we need to do it. We need to get the facts out there.
But what facts? What facts? What facts, Debbie, did you get out there?
So, yeah, it did get the facts out there, but
Yes.
a lot of people still, they don't want to believe the facts.
Well, this is the other thing. Actually, a verdict of accidental death is recorded.
Yeah.
And you discover through the course of those 600 pages, but also the coroner's inquest, that unfortunately he tried to make this journey on foot. He didn't have the right equipment. It was rough terrain and he fell. It was a tragic, tragic accident.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded with 20 handpicked.
No, I'm not interested.
Did that bring any comfort or closure, that verdict so difficult to comprehend? Did it help to hear that?
It did, and we can't. As a family, we knew that was the only,
explanation.
Because, obviously we were there. We saw the terrain.
Yeah.
We walked some of the path that Jay would have walked.
Duncan, down to you.
I'm getting very, very frustrated with this constant repetition of the facts, the facts, the facts. It's such a propaganda piece that it makes you think eventually they are going to come up with a fact, and it never happens. And you know, you can see behind this that if we keep saying that the facts are on our side, all of these naysayers will go away. But again, it's the opposite. The more they keep saying we have to show the facts and full transparency, the more the sane of this world keep looking and listening and saying, but that isn't what we see here. And linked to that is this very interesting piece of propaganda where Debbie is now saying what Chris Pennington has been saying forever, and that is unless you've stood there and seen the sea in the distance and the ravine, the mountains, unless you've walked there, unless you've actually been present, or you know, in the Maska Mountains, then you can't possibly understand the facts or anything. And this too has been the last line of defense. Like, unless you've gone there, you're not going to understand anything. Well, obviously, Luggy hadn't been there till a month or two ago, but apparently he understood everything from his basement in Fishguard. So, and you've got, you know, searchers like Callum. Callum went there. Callum was boots on the ground. Callum's been in that ravine. Callum's seen the sea. Callum's done it all. And Callum was more on our side. Callum was the one that said, I must have walked past that point 5 times where they said his body was found. So the funny thing is, even when you have been there, but your opinion is different, you still don't count. So I don't know where Debbie thinks she's going with this. You know, when you look out there, you can see that this must have been a fact. Poor Debbie has really been very, very badly misled here, but it is childlike. And I'll give you one more analogy. If you take someone to, you know, the seafront and you show them that the sun is rising and the sun is moving, the sun, and you say, well, there you go. Now you've been here with me. You've seen the sun is moving, isn't it? And Debbie's one of those that says, oh, yes, I see the sun is moving and the earth is not moving. The earth is still. Now, you know, that's the opposite, of course, but she's been so brainwashed into seeing that sea and thinking Jay must have gone down there that she's now saying that's a fact. And Wax touched on this. I think we should feel sorry for her that she's being manipulated in this way. But on the other hand, she is an adult. She should think, unless I personally am 100% sure, I really shouldn't be saying this, but I don't know. Back to you, Jan. Has she been led to say all this, or do you think she's just turned nasty? What's going on?
It's really difficult to work it out, but you know, just looking at her facial expressions, and you know, I've spoken about, you know, body language before. This still where I've stopped the video here. Just look at that face. I'm sorry, but that to me is not a grieving mother. That to me is somebody sat there trying to push her narrative. Someone who's saying, look, I'm on the TV here now. I can say what I want to say now, and all you naysayers, yeah, you can just go away. But the bigger picture is not necessarily about Jay Slater. It's about all the victims in crime, or all the victims of crime that are never get justification because mainstream media get hold of their stories and push a different narrative. And for Debbie to sit here, I'm looking at her face here and I'm thinking, do you know what? It's hard to imagine that she is naive. I don't know. I know that Wax has gone down that road and said, oh yeah, maybe she's being played and everything. I don't know. I think if I was in Debbie's position and I had been played, I'd be doubly upset. You know, I'd be like, those people, they've just played me. They know what happened to my son. She's not showing any of that, Duncan. Over to you.
Yeah, she's not showing any awareness, self-awareness, awareness of what the big picture is. Um, I think it's a bit of both, isn't it? I think she is naive. I think she is easily led, and this interviewer is leading her exactly where she wants to go. If the big picture ever entered into this, we'd have an interviewer saying at the end, Debbie, what would be your one suggestion for young people going to Tenerife to avoid ending up the way Jay did? And I have no idea what she would say. I mean, she's certainly not going to say avoid anyone called Lucy, or don't go out at 5 in the morning with someone that's had a 9-year jail sentence. She's not going to say something like that, but what is she going to say? And I think she would have nothing to say because she hasn't actually considered the big picture. She hasn't considered anything beyond what happened to Jay. And I think that's one of our frustrations, is that here we are 16 months on, and nothing from the Duncan Slater family has come out about, what we would like to do, what that family would like to do to make sure this doesn't happen again. Nothing at all. And it makes me think there is something. I use the word selfish because I think selfish in the literal sense, thinking of themselves. It's all very inward looking. It's all woe is us, you know. We're always the victims here. But no, there's a bigger world out there, and that does concern me that there hasn't been one moment of thought for anyone else beyond Jay and the family, and the world is bigger than that. So I think we'll probably agree here, Jan. There's a bit of both here. I think she's easily misled. She has been misled, um, but there's something in her that doesn't think about anything beyond her little world as well, I think.
Yeah, and I'll just add a bit of a personal story here. When my little girl, my granddaughter, got leukemia when she was 2, and she needed 5 years of treatment. She's out of it now. She's absolutely fine. Praise the Lord. But because I spent so much time in the hospital like that, I used to just, I don't know, when you're caught in that bubble of people that are in pain and seeing, babies that are ill and some of them don't make it, and, it's just an awful situation to be in. I I said to the rest of the family, I think I'm going to see if I can get a job in that hospital, because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there helping other parents, other children. And I can see why people that do go through these traumatic experiences with loved ones in their families later go on to help other people that suffer the same fate. And you're absolutely right, Dunks. We don't see that in Debbie. She doesn't have that, and I
She
think
doesn't
it
have it.
just it sets off, all these red flags in us. It's weird.
We
Yeah.
saw drone footage of the path that, all these people who say he couldn't have done this, he couldn't have done that. Well, he did, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. When you stand at the top, you can see the sea, and unless you're there and you see it for yourself,
Yes.
you've absolutely, no idea.
So he's done that
That-
thing of looking and thinking it's not actually that far.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Also, like
deceives.
he hadn't slept much. He'd been up. He'd been drinking. Again, I say this. It's all very well moralising. This is the stuff that teenage boys
Exactly.
do.
Yeah,
They can sometimes do stuff that later proves to be lacking in judgment. And most
Well, as a mother of 2 teenage boys, now grown up, thank goodness, no, neither of my 2 teenage boys did anything like this. So, and I think that's another thing that is so irritating about this woman, the way she tries to normalise the fact or her thoughts on how teenage boys react. It's madness.
of the time they get away with it.
yeah.
I think that's why your story has resonated with so many people who are on your side and not on the side of these vile trolls that make things so worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you know we're vile trolls, Dunks? We're vile, we are. Step up to the mic.
Yeah, it's become a mantra, hasn't it? You now can't say in mainstream media, you can't say the word troll without adding vile before it. We've noticed this on mainstream media news. You now can't say a Russian invasion of Ukraine. It has to be full scale Russian invasion. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that once that tag is applied, everyone has to say it. So now that Camilla's saying it, we're going to get a whole load of other people that can't say troll, online troll, without saying vile before it. I think we need to retaliate and just say vile mainstream media every time mainstream media comes up. It is pathetic. It is annoying. It seems to be sticking though, which is also annoying. We're hearing this vile troll thing going around. The word troll is never defined. Camilla's never going to define it. Debbie's never going to define it. Um, I don't know. I think with the way that they're talking to each other here, they might as well give up the pretense that they're trying to look at anything connected with what actually happened to Jay. It's almost like story time. You tell your bit of the story, then I'll continue the bit of the story, but it's not rooted in anything. And when the other oddity about this is when Debbie is talking about the path Jay went down. I mean, she obviously assumes he went down there. She starts to say, well, it's an ordinary path. The drone showed the path. Okay, that's fine. We all understand it's a path. But then she fails to explain when the path peters out and it's just this horrendous, precipitous ravine, why Jay decides to carry on. And Camilla's attempt is also pathetic. Oh, he hadn't slept, or he wasn't feeling great. But well, that's a reason for turning back. That's not a reason for carrying on. And sorry to rant about this, but we've had 16 months of this where the likes of Luggy and Chris P, they keep telling us what a bad state Jay was in and how his path got more and more difficult. To me, that is evidence that someone not feeling great would turn back. It's only someone that had got up at the crack of dawn because they'd had a good night's sleep would ever think, I can make it further on. So again, this kind of line of reasoning is self-defeating. Again, Debbie's not going to get this, but in ordinary life, if you're not feeling great and the path ahead of you is not great, you don't carry on. But that's I don't know, Jan. That's the battle we've got here: is trying to make sense of something that doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely, but it's quite nice being able to just see it from the horse's mouth, if you like,
Yeah.
and it's not a good look. It certainly isn't a good look.
Yeah.
This is every parent's nightmare.
Yeah.
You can understand how this plays out because we know what young people are
Yeah.
like and they think they're invincible, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You also had that message that Brad, his friend, had received, sort of with Jay admitting that he was in trouble at that point.
Yeah, that was a shock. That was awful. So when we'd been out to Tenerife in the November, got his phone, got the file and everything, we turned his phone on, but we just went like on the call log and we just said, "What we're not going to sit here and go through it all. We'll get back." So we got back, and the day after we went.
I find that interesting. The whole time they were saying, "Oh, we want his phone. We want his phone. All we want is his phone," and then she's actually just said they got the phone, but they were like, "Oh, well, we won't go through all the messages now. We'll wait until we fly all the way home in the comfort of our own homes before we look at it. Before we look at the messages." What's that about? It's ridiculous.
To Zach's, we met at Zach's, and Zach signed into Jay's Snapchat, and obviously Wi-Fi signal, a message sent to Brad.
This is where she's trying to sort of put it all together so we don't even get a full sentence. We get, yeah, well, we looked at his and Wi-Fi and it's so obvious what she's doing.
Brad must have had his phone on him at the time. Immediately messaged me, "Have you got Jay's phone?" I said, "Yeah, we've just signed into his Snapchat." He said, "A message has just come through from Jay." And then we looked, and the message said, "I'm not going to make it." and it was just really upset us, you know. But he was lost.
Yeah,
You know,
he
he
was
was
lost.
lost.
If there was any positive to be had from the coroner's report, is that he didn't actually suffer because he fell and hit his head.
Yeah, he fell and hit his head. He didn't have somebody come up behind him and batter him on the head that killed him. The coroner did not state categorically that there was no possibility of Jay sustaining that head injury from someone hitting his head with a heavy object. So this woman, again, what's her name, Camilla, going on about, yeah, well, the coroner said this. And the coroner said nothing. The coroner went with the false narratives. That's what they went with. And as coroners, they should be ashamed of themselves. Over to you, Dunks.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up on two things. The one you've just talked about, the coroner's telling us, again, as if it's 100% fact. Um, and it is very, very suspicious. It seems like when they're saying, oh, but Jay would have died instantly from this horrific head injury, it seems to me they're saying that to give some kind of comfort, because the worst thing you can say is, oh, by the way, we have no idea if he was writhing on the floor in agony for 5 minutes, but, you know, he might have died instantly. I mean, obviously, I don't know how they can tell the exact moment of death, but I would have thought there's a reasonable chance that someone could have that horrific head injury and still be, you know, alive, conscious, and in agony for a short time. I'm just very suspicious of any expert. I mean, okay, the guy's a coroner, but you're looking at this either severely mummified or severely decomposed body, check as appropriate, and saying, oh, yes, I'm 100% sure he died instantly. I don't actually think that they should be that self-assured when they make these pronouncements. It just sounds off. It might be true, but I would have thought it might not be. And that's what it struck me when I first heard that they're just trying to say whatever makes Debbie and the family feel good about this. But it seems like they've done that in a few other instances as well. I want to go back, Jan, to when you said about they got the phone in Spain, and like you said, rather than turning it on, they thought, let's do this when we fly back to the UK. I don't think many mothers could have resisted the temptation to turn that on as soon as in her hand and start going through instantly. Again, very strange reaction. Oh, you know, whatever's in this phone is really important, but it can wait till we get back home. And then we went round to Zach's house. Zach signed into his Snapchat. Why do we need Zach for this? Is Zach the only person that knows his code? Zach couldn't send you the password or anything from the UK? Just sounded a bit strange. We have to go round to Zach. Zach will handle all this. Why is that? Why does Zach have to handle this? You know, did Zach write it? I don't know. And the obvious question, of course, you know, since when did Jay become remarkably conscious of grammar, made sure there was a comma after the word listen, and had to write going instead of gonna, no cuz, no bro, none of the usual Jay talk. I mean, these are obvious questions. Camilla's not going to ask them, but we have to. Otherwise, people just assume this is, you know, how life goes. It isn't. It isn't. Um, I'm sure, I'm going to throw it back to you, Jan. I'm sure when you were first shown that apparent last message, you're a teacher or ex-teacher, Jan. Your first reaction was, oh boy, someone's using correct punctuation there.
That's exactly it. It's like when I've done some of my videos and I've tried to I did like a series where I looked at Twitter, you know, and I would read what people were writing in Twitter or on Twitter. And quite honestly, my brain was like really confuddled because the grammar was so poor. I find it very difficult to read something that has absolutely no punctuation. It's, you know, English, I taught English in school, so it's ingrained in me, the same as it is with you. So yeah, weird. I just want to read in the comment section here. People are saying about Ayub. Ayub's wife, is he married? I didn't know anything about that. Ayub's wife faces court on the 28th of November, part of a group who allegedly tried to smuggle, is that 13 quid? Oh, what? 13.8 million. Really? Can I ask you, Christy, where you've read that? Because that's definitely worth having a look at. Um, okay, what else? Because I really don't want to ignore you in the chat. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay, so Pam said that she's passed on her password. Yeah, I mean, my kids know it wouldn't take them long to work out my password, to be honest with you. And I know that one of them knows it, and I know that one of my grandchildren knows it as well. So yeah, I kind of can understand if she's saying that, Zach was able to get into the Snapchat. I can appreciate that. And there was something else I wanted to look at. If we've got somebody in the chat, mods, you can, if they're going, being hateful, then please just get rid of them. We don't need them over here. I see we've got Mariana over here.
Yeah.
Girly, it's lovely to see you. And I'm really sorry if you've been targeted. I'm hoping to go live next Sunday, but I have a family meal planned and it's in London. So I'm not really sure what time I'm going to be back, but possibly the week after. Maybe you'd like to come up with myself and Duncan and we can go over this video if you like, the interview, or we can just talk about what's been happening to us as YouTubers. You'd be perfectly welcome to. I'd love to be able to speak to you. And thank you so much for coming in. So let's go on a bit further.
Which again is small comfort, really. Let's move forward to now, Debbie, because you are now calling for something called Jay's Law. Tell me how that would work. What do you want the government to do in response to how you, his friends and the family have been treated by some of these online keyboard warriors?
Yes, so Jay...
I just want to interject there and say, at this point, why is Debbie not saying, well, I know my lad, he was caught up in all sorts of things. I know, he'd got in trouble before he went away. Actually, he shouldn't even have been over there because he was on probation. But that's another thing. So what I want to do is to try and warn other parents about teaching their children how to stay safe when they go on their first holidays abroad. That's a big thing, as parents. I went through it with my kids. I still go through it. My son's always jetting off here, there and everywhere, and I worry about him. So why could she have not, instead of doing this stupid Jay's Law thing, why not be an advocate for mothers who have lost their children on holiday? Why does it have to be an attack on us? Over to you, Dunks.
I think it has to be an attack on us because otherwise, the uncomfortable truths remain there. It's one of those situations where they have to silence the people that are looking for real answers because they won't and they can't. So that's the answer. It's the only option they have now is to silence those. The bit that really annoys me, funnily enough, something that most people won't pick up on, is this running to the government for everything. It's like, what do you hope the government can do for this? And that would be my last option. I would have said, government record on introducing legislation that curbs speech is not very good. It's extremely unpopular. This is not the route we need to go. And like you said, Jan, Debbie could say maybe the route to go, if we're really worried about, what was her phrase, keyboard warriors, is to try to convince people online just to talk a little bit more civilly to each other. I mean, we all know there is existing laws out there, and I don't know if we skipped the bit yet or we've got to the bit yet where she mentions it's lawless. It isn't lawless at all. There's plenty of laws that already exist. It's just that the keyboard warriors, on the whole, aren't breaking any laws. So, yeah, this whole running to the government, it's weak. It really is weak.
I agree with you. I just want to say hi to my cuz who's come in. Great to see you over here, cuz. Okay, let's move on with this.
Is law. Obviously, I've had a lot of support and help from my local MP around this.
That's Sarah Smith.
So that's Sarah Smith, yeah. I've actually been down to Parliament and had a chat with Sarah. I've also met her at our local office. She set up a meeting with the Secretary of State for our future digital economy and online safety. And we've got a petition that we're waiting to be authorised in Parliament, and we can start to share it. And it's just really about protecting vulnerable families that have gone through, obviously, what we've gone through, because we're not the first family to suffer at the hands of social media.
She's also not the first family to have suffered because their son chose the wrong path in life. And I don't mean the path running from Masca down all the rocks down to the beach. I mean, Jay was engaged in very problematic behaviour, I would suggest, from a very early age. I did a video on it, on how I feel the importance of a good family dynamic is in bringing up children. I did a video on that. I got so much hate because I got like people saying, how dare you say she did this, how dare you say that Jay died because of her. I didn't say that. I didn't say Jay died because of his mother. I said that when children or juveniles are brought up in I have to be careful the words I use. We could say dysfunctional. We could say a family that doesn't value certain things in society that makes for well-rounded individuals. That's the point I'm trying to make. So it really gets to me when I see this woman sat here, oh, woe is me. I'm telling you, every time I stop this video and I see her face, it's not one of a grieving mother. Duncan, take over before I explode.
Yeah, this gets back to the whole propaganda piece. I think it was Sonia Poulton that said she could tell immediately that the documentary was an agenda-driven program. We're getting the same thing here. It's propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. Um, I mean, there is a place in the documentary and in interviews, there is a place to describe Jay as that, very happy-go-lucky, positive, smiley kid. Of course. But that isn't reality. And as far as this case goes, Jay's death goes, and all the repercussions of it, it's the negative side that is all important. Jay singing karaoke as a little kid with his mum is all very sweet, but it has absolutely no bearing on what this case is all about. We haven't had it addressed that when Jay was 12 years old, I think some, local thugs were throwing stuff at him, attacked him, kicked him. He had to hide under a car. That's when he was 12. Now, I don't know, were they random street thugs that just happened to pick on two 12-year-olds? Almost certainly not, even at that age. I'm speculating, but it's likely Jay was involved with something negative, something not great. Obviously, later in life, he's part of that gang that attacked Tom Hilton. This is when he was 16. So you've got to ask yourself, between 12 and 16, how many other instances were there that we just didn't hear of where Jay was very lucky to get away with something? And this isn't saying that, Jay's a 100% bad kid. There is no 100% here. We're all a mixture of good and bad. But I think the intelligent viewer here can see that most probably Jay had a very up and down life from 12 onwards, it would seem. Um, and that's the big question. The big question is, how do we change things so that this kind of thing doesn't keep happening? That issue is not addressed here. It's all Jay was the victim of circumstances. That's not true. These circumstances were created by, like what you're saying, Jan, the family life, the attitudes towards everything. And, as teachers, we can often see this. It doesn't take very long to see in the kid what the parents are like. I've had this, not to drone on about teaching, but I've had it where at parents' evening or whatever you call it, you know the kid very well. You never met the parent. A parent shows up in the doorway straight away. You go, oh, that's Johnny's father. I can see it straight away. You know what I mean? It really is very, very obvious in certain cases. And I'm going to say it. You see what Jay did when we're talking about the drugs and all that. We can see the company he kept. We can see what happened in the Tom Hilton case. Now, when you hear Debbie speak, you think, well, there we go. That's the mother for you. She shrugs her shoulders at the whole drug taking thing. The whole world is to blame for those that are online and saying stuff. It's a perfect match. Sadly, how Jay ended up is, I think, is reflected in the way she speaks about it. I can see it.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same as you. We shouldn't prattle on about our times working in schools, but I remember parents' evening, and it's not even. Someone sort of had a go at me the other day because they assumed that I'd said something about Debbie being poor. It has nothing to do with family finances. It has to do with a family that has a good dynamic. And by dynamic, I mean, how do they get on with their parents? And I know he came from a broken family, broken marriage. Really, that's regardless. Just because you come from a broken family doesn't mean to say you're going to have a life of crime. What it means is that family has to work harder for that child to feel settled in both homes. That's what it means. And as long as those two homes have the same values, teach the children right from wrong. Teach the children so many things about boundaries and just things to make them into caring, intelligent human beings that don't think that they can get away with murder. It's like, I remember Duncan exactly the same as you, sat there, and you're sat at the desk when they come into the school, and it's like, okay, this is one of my parents. And there were times when I was quite shocked at the parents, and it wasn't because they didn't have any money. It had nothing to do with their financial status. It was to do with where their heads were. They knew nothing about their child. They weren't interested in what their child was doing. And I feel that this is demonstrated with Debbie. She hasn't told us anything. We haven't learnt anything about that family other than that they've been in trouble. What are we supposed to think? I mean, have you heard the story of the brick going through the family home? I don't know anything about that. Have you heard that story?
Yeah, I mean that's been out there for a while. I'm not sure that it's true, but a lot of people have said that they being Debbie and family, they have been targeted. Um, possibly by Tom Hilton's clan, but it could be anyone. We just don't know the dynamics of that town. I have read that Oswald Twistle has a particularly high crime rate, for the size of the place nationwide. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this family had been targeted for whatever. And we we get a glimpse of what kind of family it is, but I mean, the details again are not there. I do get the impression, just one last thing on this, I do get the impression that Debbie is one of those mothers that claims to know her son very well, and the reality is she doesn't. And we've had hints of this. Remember the Sunday night, early the Sunday night, and Jay's telling her, yeah, I want to enjoy the rest of my holiday, won't be doing anything wild tonight. Don't worry, goodbye, mum. Um, and, within the hour, Josh Forshaw's got 10 vodka shots lined up and the ketamine's on order. Now, that is a very obvious way of knowing she doesn't know her son, because presumably when she put the phone down, she thought he really meant, I'm not going to do anything wild tonight. She doesn't know him. Now, that made me think, when she says things like, well, he never leaves his phone is always charged, he never leaves it go down, or he's always using someone else's phone to contact me. I'm thinking maybe she's got that wrong, or maybe she's made that up. That in fact Jay doesn't bother to send a message or give a call, every evening. Um, we have to doubt Debbie's word because she's trying to give the impression of being a certain type of mother, and in some instances she might be. But there's one or two examples we've seen in this story where she has no clue what is going on in Jay's life.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to play a little bit more before we
And we
fold up.
just think that, like Ofcom regulate what we can watch and listen to on normal TV.
Absolutely.
But on these social media platforms, there's just nothing. So it would just be about either changing a law, creating a new law, some legislation around the misinformation that
Yes.
gets spread on social media.
And the irony of that is that the people spreading the misinformation are not the content creators. We didn't spread misinformation. We're very careful in what we talk about. And what we talk about, we give evidence of. It's insane. It's insane that this woman, I mean, she hasn't got a clue what's going on. But to blame content creators when we know who put the false information out there. We know who first put out the narrative, and it wasn't us. It was the likes of Mark Williams Thomas. How come he's not accountable? Can somebody do a video with him? Can we get him being interviewed by Channel 4 and see what he's got to say about all the misinformation he put out? And also the false leads, the false crap that was all around this story, that was handed to us, that was given to us, that was leaked to the public by Ayub, by Brad, by these news programs. We're not the ones making things up. So before I finish this, I'm going to give you a final word. But I just want to say, guys, we're all on Sonia Poulton's channel tomorrow. I'm going to try and be awake. I'm going to have to set about 5 alarm clocks to be there. And although we will be speaking about the Jay Slater case, we will also be talking about this kind of thing. This kind of false narrative, the blaming, the name calling that we have endured because we've spoken up about Jay Slater. It's disgusting, guys. So we would love you to come over with your blue flags, and yeah, we would love to see you all. So I'll pass you on to Dunks, and then I'll say my goodbyes to you in a little while.
Okay. Yeah, this I don't know where to start with this. And hopefully with Sonia we can get into this tomorrow. I mean, it's Sonia's show. Sonia's going to be leading all this, but hopefully she will want to touch on exactly what the likes of Debbie Duncan want in legislation that prevents families from online abuse. The problem here is that Debbie herself, never mind Mark Williams Thomas, Debbie herself and all the family were the first ones to say, conspiracy theory, maybe he has been kidnapped, you know. Debbie confessed she too, had to question Lucy about, is this GoFundMe for real or is it hostage money? So the initiators of all the so-called misinformation were the people that are now saying we have to stop people giving out misinformation. How does this work? Is there a point where Debbie Duncan says misinformation, like what I'm saying, he could have been taken as a hostage, or he could have been killed by anyone? At what point are we allowed to say the same things as her? But when she changes her mind, when she says, "Oh no, suddenly I've decided it was an accident," the whole world must also then say, oh, it must be an accident. And if you disagree with that and you say, I think Debbie Duncan's made a bad mistake here, she's now saying accident when it clearly isn't, then we have someone knock on the door and say, you have to be arrested under Jay's law. This is the lunacy of the whole idea. And we've got to remember, Mark Williams Thomas was actually her agent in the sense that I believe he volunteered his services. She accepted, so once she'd accepted Mark Williams Thomas to be a mouthpiece for her, and he's saying there's a picture of Jay with knives in his waistband, well, then Jay's law is now, pointing the finger at Mark Williams Thomas, who is saying what Debbie wanted him to say. This is going round in a crazy circle. It makes no sense, and hopefully Sonia will add her 2 cents to this. It's just nuts. But with a straight face in this interview, Debbie is saying, yeah, that basically they have a monopoly on victimhood. 100% of the traffic that is bad is coming from online creators and the commenters. I don't know if we've reached that point yet, but she also says, well, all the commenters are just as bad. They should be subject to Jay's law. Everyone, it's one-way traffic. 100% of the evil is coming from one side to the other. No one in the whole world has a monopoly on what is, said that's good and what is said that's bad. We all know that. And yet they really think they can come up with a law that targets, the right people. Besides, there are plenty of laws anyway. I've just been subject to, the rules or the laws, if you like, of YouTube today. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Sorry, Jan, there's a bit of confusion about tomorrow. Is it 9 a.m. UK time that it happens, or is it 10 a.m. UK time that Sonia's show with us is happening?
Well, Sonia's show actually starts at 9, but we're not coming on until 10. I
Gotcha.
have tried to sort of, let people know in the comments, but yeah, although her show starts at 9 o'clock, we actually make an appearance at 10 o'clock, and I think we may be on there for half an hour or something.
Right.
My whole notion, or my whole role, will be really to allow Duncan and Wax to speak, because they were vilified by Channel 4, and I'm absolutely disgusted about that. So yeah, I want to take a back seat if I possibly can. So I want to that's why I did it, really. So yeah, it's 10 o'clock GMT. So hopefully you'll be there with your blue hearts, and yeah, look forward to seeing you there. Dunks, do you want to just say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, again, very well attended. I haven't had a chance to look through the comments, but I've seen that it's been very active. So I'll have a look through that tomorrow. No, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks very much, Jan. And you let us know the next time you can do this, whether it be in a week's time or 2 weeks' time. I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about, even if it's not this particular interview. There's still a lot more to talk about. And yeah, big day tomorrow. I mean, fingers crossed. We only want one biggish producer out there that is attracted by the conversation that happens tomorrow and thinks that Sonia might be onto something. Because I think ultimately the aim is documentary with a big platform, national platform, that will finally get the other side of the story out there. But tomorrow could be a big step. And yeah, fingers crossed it goes well. But we've been waiting for this, Jan, Wax, you, me, Mariana, everyone. We've been waiting for this. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I think it's going to be fun.
Yes, indeed. We have been waiting for this, and I'm absolutely delighted that Sonia is giving us that opportunity. So I want to say thank you so much to the chat for having a lot to say. I also want to say a massive thank you to you mods. You were wonderful. Thank you so much. It was very important for me that everybody that came into the chat could speak and feel safe in here. And that's what we're going to do, guys. From now on in, we are going to have a safe space. We're not going to let the haters come in and attack you as well as us. So hopefully see you tomorrow, guys. Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to have you here again, Dunks. Take care, darling, and I'll see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So take care, everyone, and hopefully see you on Sonia's channel tomorrow. Bye bye for now.